Welcome back to another Empower Hour. We do this every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I come on, we just chat, we talk a little bit about, right now we're in this book, Unstoppable Self-Confidence. And each week we go chapter by chapter, and we're in chapter 9 now, how to eliminate worry and fear. That's what we're talking about today. So I'm curious to know how your week has been. Is anyone planning on going to the SLC conference, the Hero Conference? It's a virtual conference full of a full day of jam-packed learning and activities and fun. You can check that out on our website. Click the link on my bio as well. So we start out on page 198. Worry pretends to be necessary but serves no useful purpose. Worry pretends to be necessary but serves no useful purpose. Just imagine what your life would be like without any fear or worry. Just imagine. Can you imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you completely eliminated fear and worry, anxiety? Can you imagine how much you'd be able to achieve if you don't feel fear, worry, and anxiety? How much time do you spend a day worrying about stuff? Whether it be the kids, whether it be relationship, whether it be work, job, I don't know what it might be. But worry is a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle. It's a terrible place to be, to worry. We spend a lot of time. So he goes on 199 and he says there's an anxiety epidemic. And we learned last week about overthinking and what overthinking does to us. What overthinking does. Worry, fear, and anxiety have become the default state for so many people. They live in it. In fact, they live in it every day so much that they don't even know what normal is. Although I don't think anybody knows what normal is anyway, because normal is just a setting on my washing machine. But at the end of the day, right, when you live in consistent worry, fear, or whatever, it just becomes a part of who you are. You ever get to that place where, oh, that's just who I am? You ever hear that from people? Do you say that? Do you say that? That's just who I am. You hear people say that? What do you mean that's just who you are? Is that a justification to say why you can't change? Is that an admission that you don't want to change? What is it? What is it exactly? That's just who I am. Does that mean we have to deal with that? Does that mean that the other person just needs to put up with whatever it is of just who you are? What does it mean? What does that mean? So there's an epidemic of anxiety going on right now. Worry, fear, and anxiety have become the default state of mind. Happens to be what state that we continuously work in. That's how we are. That's what our life comes. But what are your biggest worries? Can you name them? What were you worried about today? What are your biggest worries? What are they? Talk. I'm waiting for you to type. Talk. What are your biggest worries? What are the things that keep you up at night? What keeps you up at night? What prevents you from sleeping? You need to find a soulmate. Getting hurt. Money. That's another one. Money is a big one. Losing your mom to cancer. Absolutely, that's a big worry. Making your kids. Killing my interview tomorrow, which I'm sure you will. Living your best life. The interesting part about it is if we spend less time worrying about it and more time actively trying to achieve that goal or getting it done, maybe that's a better use of our time than worrying about whether something or not is going to happen. Because we all know that nothing happens unless you do it, right? Especially if you're a mom of a household of kids. Nothing gets done unless you do it. So in life, it's the same thing. But it's not just because it wants to get you, right? It's not because it's just for you. It's for everybody. You want something done, you need to do it yourself sometimes, right? We can depend on some people sometimes, but not all the time. But things like money, things like finding a soulmate, things like that are stuff that we can't control. Or we can, to some degree, make change. Sure. But some of these things we worry about, we have zero control over. Zero. Right? We can worry or be concerned or have anxiety because we want to have a soulmate, right? Let's just say that. But it takes two to tango, doesn't it? Right? You could want it, but the other person needs to want it too. Mutual. Got to be mutual. The Cambridge English Dictionary defines worry as such: to make someone feel unhappy and frightened because of problems or unpleasant things that might happen. You know what I love about the definition? I don't know if anybody caught this, but do you know what I love most about this definition? It says to make someone feel unhappy. So what does it mean when we're the ones who are worrying on our own? So you mean to tell me to cause worry requires somebody or something to trigger it? And guess what? That somebody is you. That somebody is you. Why do you do that to yourself? Why? Here's the interesting part. He says on page 203, he says, it is by definition an act of self-abuse and self-harm to worry all the time. And if you choose to continue to worry, then you're choosing to be abusive towards yourself again. Do you believe that? So when you're worrying, at least by Andrew Leedham, this book, Unstoppable Self-Confidence, and most things that I've read, when you're worrying, that's not necessarily a natural thing. It's not a natural state, right? Worry, back in the good old days, like I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of years ago, when humans were just like walking the planet type of thing, you had concerns over things, safety, la. There's a lot of worry now, and it's all self-generated. Think about where we get most of our worries from. Where are they generated from? A lot of things are generated from the online environment. It's caused by where you're consuming media, like TikTok, for example, or the news. Turn on the news, you're going to feel a lot of worry and concern when the things you listen to. It's just how it works. But when you continuously worry and spend lots of time doing so, right? By definition, it's an act of self-abuse, essentially, he says. That's what he says. So switching off your incredible problem-solving machine. We learned last week about overthinking. The human brain was developed to problem solve. to get us through life, to liberate us, to make us free, to get us to where we want to go, to achieve our dreams and goals. But at the same time, it's become the biggest problem creating machine. It was supposed to help us, not harm us. But for some reason, we stick in some cycles where we're constantly overthinking something, and that overthinking then compounds into fear, worry, and anxiety, which is where we're at now in the book. But it's caused by you. It's caused by you. It's not caused by the outside per se. At least not what he's saying. So how do we switch this? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do you do it? Why do you do it? Why do you worry? Do you even know? Why do you worry? Mentally, it's tough watching my aunt 24/7 has dementia, age 77. That is tough. That is tough. That's a hard thing to do. What else? Who else out there? Fear of failure. That's a good one. A fear of failure. So, if we're thinking that we're a fear of failure, right? Then why would we even try something, right? You want to try something new. You want to be good at something. You want to try a new task. You want to prove something to yourself. But then this fear of failure sets in, and you don't even try. You told yourself you couldn't do it before you even tried, right? That doesn't make much sense. Why do we do that? You worry about making yourself proud, Kristen? Not being good enough. That's a common one, Abigail. That's a common one. And we know that. What do we know about that? What you need to know is who you are. If you know who you are, right, and you believe in that, then whatever anyone else has to say doesn't necessarily have to be true. Doesn't necessarily have to be fact. Doesn't necessarily have to be fact. Worry about my kids not turning out to be good adults. That's another common one, I would say. That's another common one, I would say. It's not your business what other people think. I like that, the way you said that, Judy. It's not your business what other people think. It's true. It's true. So why make it matter? Why make it matter is the point, I guess, right? Why make it matter? So let's see here what we can pull out of this chapter. So fear is an idea crippling, experience crushing, success stalling inhibitor inflicted only by yourself. One of the biggest differences between the 1% of people who can create a life and the life that they want and the others is this unconscious framework for making decisions about their lives. This framework shapes how they see the world and how they view and frame the process of what's going on, the decisions they make. The only difference is the 1% never lost the ability, they were programmed. The 1% focus on possibilities instead of consequences. Whereas the 99% focus on consequences versus possibilities. So when you're worrying about the impact or the consequences of a certain situation or something that you're trying to analyze in your mind. Right? And instead, you have a choice whether or not you want to think about the consequences or perhaps think about the possibilities that come with whatever the situation may be. Consequences. So when you're worrying, you're focused on the consequence of a situation, not the possibility that it will bring. Now, I understand, like, if you did something wrong or whatever and you recognize that, then instead of worrying, what do you think is the best thing to do? Because I'm going to be honest with you. We all make mistakes. Everybody does. In fact, you can't learn unless you make a mistake. Nobody learns unless they make a mistake. So when you make a mistake and you recognize, well, do you think instead of avoiding the situation, the best approach is to contact the source and have a chat and talk? Or is it better use of your time to just worry about the impact that was made, lose sleep, right? If you have other negative behaviors, whatever, drink, I don't know. Worry can bring us to the depths of the devil, for all we know. It blocks us from being able to be who we want to be. It blocks us from being able to have a clear head. It blocks us from being able to be present in the moment. It blocks us from the most foundational skill that Andrew Leedham has shown us. Foundational skill of all people who are confident. What they can do is they can sit for 15 seconds and think about nothing for 15 seconds. Not let one thing peep into their mind for a complete 15 seconds. When you're worrying, you can't do that, can you? No, because as soon as you try to distract yourself, guess what? It comes right knocking. It follows you like a fly at a picnic or a barbecue, wherever you're at. You know that fly that just comes and bothers you? You swat it away, you try, but it just, it's almost like your hand didn't even matter. And that's what happens. That worry is a fly. And it's buzzing around and it's distracting you. You can't even have a conversation with the person next to you or across the table because it's just whacking all over you, just freaking you out. You cannot pay attention. That's how worry affects you. So much so that you cannot get a word out. You cannot think about anything else but whatever it is that you're worried about. That's what happens. And you must know that that's bad. You must know that that's not a good use of time. You must know that that takes away from you being able to achieve your goals, from you feeling comfortable in your own skin, from you, feeling beautiful, feeling this, that, and the other thing, you name it. Worry is an epidemic. Overthinking is a disease, same thing. It is. It's crippling. It's crippling. Crippling. So how can you silence the beast? What can you do to stop? What can you do to stop this? What are some things you can do? Right, well, we get a lot of people who say, meditate or whatever. And I'm not the meditation type of person. I'll be honest. I'm not. Never really was until I started to talk about all this stuff. And I'm still not the person who before bed or after, when I wake up in the morning, sit at the corner of my bed and levitate. No, I don't do that. No. But it is important to try to sit in silence for 15 seconds and try to hold no thought, just to check in with yourself, to see. And Aqua, I'm going to go off with what you said. My mind doesn't shut off either. It's almost difficult to shut it off. In fact, there are many moments when I try to hold no thoughts in my head for 15 seconds. And it's almost not possible. But you can't give up. You got to keep trying to train yourself to do it. Because that's the stopgap. You need distance between you and what you're doing in the moment when you're worrying, overthinking, you name it, to try to change your behavior. And the only way to change your behavior is to move. To make a move of some kind. Do something different. What I like to do is go for a walk. If things are not panning out and I'm worrying, I'm not focused at my desk or whatever, I can't figure out what to do, the best thing for me to do is to go for a walk. Because spending another hour, half paying attention, half productivity, probably healthier for me to go out for a walk than it is to just waste time any further. Right? Self-care. That's number one. Self-care is you. Eliminating the habit of fear and worry. Let's look at this quote, page 213. Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts about the future. It is a product of our imagination causing us to fear things that at the present do not exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. Fear is not real. Don't misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. Do you believe that? Do you buy that? Do you think fear is a choice? Sure is. Sure is. If I fear heights, or I espouse I fear heights, the last thing I'm going to do is not go on a roller coaster. But could I have gone on the roller coaster? Yeah. If I said I wasn't fearful of it, maybe I would. So why am I fearful of it, but you're not? How can you go on the roller coaster, but I can't? Is it because roller coasters were made for only the people who don't fear it? No. Roller coasters were made for everybody. Except some people choose not to go on the roller coaster. Fear is not real, it's a choice. It's a choice. And it can be instilled in you. I agree with that. It can be instilled in you by people who also may fear it, right? And those of us who grow up in households that, somebody doesn't like something, then you're not going to experience it until later in life, right? If somebody's afraid to do something, like it's instilled in you as you're growing up, right? This fear. And it's typically what your parents feared and maybe some other family members feared, right? Fear can be instilled upon you, but it's a choice. And guess what? Those of us who fear is instilled upon us, right? Recognize or we're not thinking, right? We're just accepting somebody else's experience with something for fact as our own. But we don't have any experiences with it. So how can we do that? Why do we do that? Why do we do that? It's an illusion. That's what it is. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. It's a situation to deal with it. It's just a situation to deal with. Here's the other piece too. A lot of times we do this. So when worry comes up, you need to catch a thought by observing it instead of judging it. And then use structured thoughts or whatever. So it's just a situation. I deal with it. Right? Is another type of response as this is who I am. Right? So deal with it. It's sort of the same thing. And to me, when somebody says that, if you just listen to the words, right? It's just who I am or whatever. If you just listen to those words, it's an admission of or a justification of why I'm not going to change or grow from my moment, from this situation, right? It's a different thing. It's just a situation. I'll deal with it. I'll be okay. Right? We hear our friends say that a lot. We hear ourselves say that a lot. Is it true in that moment? No, it's not true. We all know that. Whenever you hear, I'll be okay, or I'll be fine, or something like that, we know for sure. We know for sure that it's not. We can know for sure that it's not. We've had enough experiences with that to know for sure that it's not. Right? Right. So let's talk about overthinking one more time and why it breeds worry, right? The longer you overthink a situation, and let's just recognize for what it is. Overthinking is a disease, and it wouldn't be a problem if everybody was overthinking positive thoughts. It just wouldn't. Because when you're overthinking or anybody else is overthinking, it's like the most damning things on the planet. Like Armageddon style, crazy, nuts, like the worst possible case scenario type of thing. So why do you think that when you overthink, you're going to breed anxiety? You're going to breed fear. You're going to breed all that because you are overthinking not positive thoughts, but negative thoughts. In that moment. And I want everybody to relate. How many of you are overthinkers, like crazy plagued by overthinking? Who out there is like plagued by overthinking all the time? And you just can't, you wish you just never did, but it's just like, it just happens no matter what. No matter what. Right? So overthinking is your coping mechanism. Okay, so a situation happens, something happens, and you immediately switch into this overthinking because you need to, one, understand the situation, figure out what happened, understand why, and all these sorts of things that go through what you're overthinking about, right? And the longer you overthink, the worse the story gets, and the more debilitated you get. Right? So now it's no longer just the drive home from work that you're trying to understand the situation. It's bled through dinner. You can't even pay attention to what's going on because you're just like stuck on what somebody said or what happened or whatever the case may be. And you just constantly go through this cycle, and the negative thoughts just breed this anxiety and this concern, of course, and worry and doubt that then torpedoes you, makes you feel like you're inhuman and everything else. Or it makes you extremely angry, like you're on an escapade and you want to like chop somebody's head off type of thing, right? Either way, could be one or the other, I don't know. But overthinking does either, right? Whichever camp you are in, it might change depending on the situation, time of day, mood you're in, or so forth. But at the end of the day, there are other people out there who deal with those problems differently, right? So there's other people who will just maybe take a drink, stop at the bar on the way home, have a couple glasses of wine, right? To unwind, so they say. And then there's other people like me who would go to the refrigerator or stop through a McDonald's drive-thru and just, eat some French fries and blah, 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 and just, eat my feelings away type of thing while overthinking too at the same time. But yeah, same thing. Different response because I'm different from you. You do the overthinking thing. You keep yourself up at night. You don't go to sleep until 3 a.m. You wake up, your bloodshot eyes, and you're trying to be a zombie for the rest of the day. Me, I'm just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, wider, wider, wider. The scale is getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Right? It's the same thing. So when you're overthinking, but you're not a drinker, think about you downing a bottle of tequila, because that's what you're doing in that moment. Or think about you shoving a foot-long sub down your throat in that moment, because that's how you deal with it, right? It's the same thing, but people deal with things differently. That's called coping. What's your coping mechanism? Is it food? Is it alcohol? Is it sex for some? Right? Is it overthinking? Is it torpedoing yourself? What is it? What is your coping mechanism? Do you know what it is? Or do you not even recognize that what you're doing in response is indeed your coping mechanism? Now, based on what yours is, call it what it is. If you're sitting there overthinking, right? We'll say, well, I might as well just drink a bottle of scotch or whatever, right? Even though that's not what you want to do at the end of the day, but it's the same thing. Because drinking the bottle of scotch, eating the McDonald's drive-thru, it's all what? Unhealthy. And guess what? So is the overthinking that leads to worry, fear, and everything else. Sure does. Because that's what it does. And what happens when you then engage in that? Well, let's talk about it. Well, the next morning you wake up and you feel like poop. Now you're looking in the mirror and you got a pimple. Now you're looking here and you can't even look at yourself in the mirror and say that you're beautiful anymore because you're picking yourself apart because you just abused yourself in your own mind for the past hours, days, weeks, who knows? Stuck in a rut. Thinking about it. But guess what? Just as I was saying earlier, if you feel like you need to spend that much time thinking about somebody or a situation that you were party of, do you know what's really easy to do? Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I just want to give you a call. Because I'm thinking about the situation today, and for some reason, I just want to are you okay? Oh yeah, you're fine. Oh my God. That happened to you today? Oh, no wonder. Oh my God, because I'm sitting here eating myself up. And I figured I'd just call you to find out whether or not, I'm so relieved to feel that. You too. Bye. Simple as that. Simple as that. Why don't you get on the phone? Why don't you talk to these people? What are you afraid of? You're causing yourself more damage trying to understand the situation for your own self than you would if you made the phone call. And most often than not, we've either miscommunicated, misinterpreted the situation, or the other person has a lot going on in their life. And it had nothing to do with you. But yet you made it all about you because for some reason, you're so important. But yet you think you're not important, and you tell yourself that you're isolated, you have no friends, la 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 la. But you're overthinking because you think you're important. Enough. Right? So if you think that you're important enough to waste your time and overthink stuff, why aren't you confident? Why? You don't demonstrate that anywhere else, so why are you sitting there overthinking stuff? What's the purpose? It's a big old waste of time. That's what it is. It's a big old waste of time because now your whole afternoon was destroyed, your evening was destroyed, everything was destroyed. All for what? Nothing. Nothing. At the end of the day, nothing. So much better use of our time to do something different. Something like what you want to do. Grow, learn, develop, go to the gym, go for a walk. Do something healthy. Talk to somebody else on the phone. But a lot of times when we get into these ruts, we isolate ourselves. We don't share. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't let somebody else know. And the next morning we wake up, we'll be damned if somebody knew that we were in our feels, right? Yeah, make sure that there's this makeup there, put your big girl smile on. Okay, I'm going to smile at everybody and say good morning. Good morning! out of character because you're just trying to play it cool, I don't want them to know. I'm not going to let them know that it's affecting me. Yeah, how'd that go? Not very good. Because all while you're doing it, it's fake. You're uncomfortable in your skin. Don't say you're not. Why can't you just be you? Unapologetically you. We have this tendency of trying to shield our inner demon who keeps us up at night. But it's totally okay to give them attention when you're outside of whatever. But when you're here, you got to try to silence and pretend that it doesn't exist. Oh, it exists. It exists at home. You do not need to live that life. Do you know that? That's not the life you need to live. It's not healthy for you. Not at all. It keeps you from achieving your dreams. It keeps you from getting outside. It keeps you to just continue using your coping mechanisms, which are also unhealthy. Overthinking, trying to rationalize, eating, drinking. Instead of using healthier coping mechanisms like talking to people, sharing. Do you really think for a minute that nobody else has gone through what you have gone through? I hate to tell you, but you're not that unique. Okay? In that sense. In that sense. We all have been through something. And you don't know how many other people are experiencing it unless you share. But in the United States of America, we have a problem about being comfortable talking about our feelings. We have a problem because apparently talking about your feelings is a big weakness. So, we don't have a lot of that happening. And forget it. Men, it's almost like extinct to be able to figure out what a man is feeling. That's a big weakness. You can't do that. It's not allowed. Why can't we talk? And why can't you talk? You can. You can. What we need to do is we need to be true to ourselves. And that's really the crux of this all. Is that we need to be true to ourselves. And when we worry about things and we're not being true to ourselves, we're being inauthentic. We're being inauthentic. We're not showing our true selves to the world. And for that, we have to make up for it, right? We have to make up for it at home. We have to beat ourselves up, remind ourselves of this stuff, and so forth. You need to do what's right for you. You didn't get born into this world to live somebody else's life. You didn't get born into this world to be told how to live your life. You were born into this world to be who you want to be. And a lot of us allowed the little terrorist between our ears, our ego, to dictate what that would be. And oftentimes, it's not exactly what you were dreaming of or hoping to be. Because every time you took that one leap of faith, you got knocked down for it. You were uncomfortable. Didn't feel right. And your little terrorist there said, you know what, I told you so. I told you you wouldn't be able to do it. I told you it wouldn't be easy. I told you. Did you? Don't listen to the terrorist between your ears. The terrorist between your ears is tainted from society, tainted from your childhood, tainted from your bad experiences, because when you look back and I say, tell me something about your life, which is a very common question, the only thing you can recall like this are the moments you were either harmed, destroyed, ruined, made to feel this big. But there's so much more out there of you that you need to remember. You need to rewrite your story. You need to tell your story the way you want to tell it. That's how it's done. Push back. Push back. Push back against all that negativity. They say, if you want to think negatively, you'll manifest the negativity. But think positively, you'll manifest the positivity. To keep yourself in a positive frame takes work. Your brain is geared in the negative. That's how we were built. Fight or flight. That's evolution. You are not going to change it. So every day you wake up, knowledge is power. If you know that your brain is immediately going to go there, then you need to stop it. Tell it no. Just like you tell your kid no. No. We are not going there. No siree. Change the behavior. Right in that moment, go for a walk. Do a breathing exercise. Call a friend. Do something else than what you normally do. because you have been on that merry-go-round multiple times, and guess what? It does not change anything. It just gets you back to the same place you were time and time and time and time and time again. So it's time to change your coping mechanism. No more overthinking. Don't allow it. Tell yourself, not today. I need to spend more time. I'm trying to figure out and build a future. I'm trying to build an empire, and you're in my way. Just remember, the creation of life is both beautiful and magical. That it even took its time to create you. You're not a mistake. You belong here. You belong here. You must stay here. You must believe that. You're not a mistake. You can do it. You matter. You mean something. You do. Make sure you take time and invest in you. Come to the conference. Invest in you. Be the best you can be. I appreciate you. I'll see you next week. I will. I misspoke. In 2 weeks I won't be here, but I'll see you next week. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Thursday. See you then. Be good.